Today on the Chat and Chew Show.
That's huge. Okay, so maybe approaching it like this, we've been together 6 months. I'm ready to have kids. How do I move it along? Could be a sign of control.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Roxanne, and today we're making a stuffed tomato.
All right, well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Chat and Chew Show. My name is Betty.
And I'm Roxanne.
And you guys, we are not in the same room. This is our new normal. So if you're like most of us in the world, you are not going out at all. So we want to continue giving you some great content. And so we're just meeting on Zoom like everybody else. We're zooming. Zoom. And as you know, this show is designed to empower you to do your relationships better. And we say this all the time. Everybody is in a relationship. You're either married, single, divorced, widow. It's complicated. That's what you said.
Complicated. And then you can also be a family member. You could be a brother, a sister. You could be a mom. Yeah. All relationships. You can be Barbie and Ken.
That's true. And if you're honest, you'll know that in all these relationships, sometimes they can be really, really. Dang, I was making sure I was recording. They can be really difficult. Girl, it's been a week. So if you're in a relationship, sometimes relationships can be tough. And so we want to be able to give you tips. I know. Y'all just going to have to get the mess ups today.
You were reading the teleprompter. That's all.
There you go. Where's my teleprompter person? Messing me up. No. So Roxy, I'm super excited because we have one of my best friends in the whole world joining us today. And that is Miss Donecia Smith. And we're doing our favorite episode, which is, come on, Roxy. Ask the Coach.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I needed like a choir.
No, let's do it again.
Okay.
Here we go.
Ask the Coach. Ask the Coach, Donecia. So, Donecia, we're super thrilled you're with us. How you doing?
I am fantastic. Thanks, ladies, for having me today.
Yeah. Now, you got this beautiful backdrop where I got part of my dirty kitchen. Roxanne got her beautiful kitchen. But what's this behind you?
Well, I thought it might be important for the fans to see where your coach comes from. And so I'm close to the Bay Area. And so behind me is a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Nice.
Yes. So I bring you greetings, warm greetings today, because it's nice outside, almost 70 plus degrees from California.
Dang. And we're in the DC area, and it's about 40 here.
And windy. It's windy today.
Oh no, y'all can keep that. Y'all can keep that.
No, that's crazy.
No,
so crazy. Yeah. So like we said, we're all in the house. That Donecia's in California. Roxy is in her state. Roxy want to remain anonymous, so I'm not going to tell y'all where she's at. And then I'm in my state. So we got some really interesting questions for Donecia. So we're just going to dive right in.
Okay.
All right.
So question number 1 is, I've been seeing someone for 6 months. I know it's early, but I think he may be the one. Also, I want kids. And I'm in my late 30s and I'm not getting any younger. How do I move things along towards marriage without seeming too pushy?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I hear many of my clients talk about this because, for some reason, we as women think that we have a biological clock that's really ticking. But with the advances in science, there are ways you can still have children even mid-40s. So to this person, I would say, one, it's not too late. You still have some time, okay? But how do you know? How do you know he's the one and you don't want to come across too pushy? It's easy, but yet challenging at the same time. Easy because if this person has become your best friend, then broaching the subject should not be challenging for you. What makes it challenging for you is that you have this time constraint or this appearance or maybe invisible time constraint that you want kids. You want it now. And maybe there are some things that he's still working out or he's not ready now. So the best way to broach this conversation would be, we've been having a great time. It's been 6 months. What do you see in the next 5 years for yourself? Do you see yourself married? Do you see yourself with children? If you haven't had this conversation about marriage and children, then maybe at 6 months it might be good for you. If your relationship is at a place where bringing up the subject or idea of kids can cause harm in the relationship, then don't go there because he's definitely not ready. But take your time. Time is basically an invisible proctor of where we're going to go, what we're going to do, how we're going to get there. And it's also a sign of you're wanting to control the relationship, where the relationship can't be controlled. The relationship is only determined. Go ahead.
I was going to say, wait a minute. That's huge. Okay, so maybe approaching it like this, we've been together 6 months, I'm ready to have kids, how do I move it along, could be a sign of control. That you are trying to control the relationship. That's strong. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you've been single for, let's say, up to 30 years, right? You have a way of doing things. You know how you like your bed made. You know how you like your coffee in the morning. You know how you want your toast lightly toasted, not too burnt, and a little toasted on the outside, soft in the middle with a little slap of butter on it. We have to be honest as women and say, if this is a woman, it could be a male. Let's say if it's a woman. If it's a woman, we have to be honest and say that we have a very distinct way of how we want to live our life, where we are comfortable, right? And so that puts us in the power seat. So whether you're now male or female, you're in this power seat that I've been single for this long. I know how I want stuff done. So if you're at this place in your life, you have made this determination. I want to be married. I want kids. I want it now. And your mate's not there yet, that's going to come across pushy. That's going to come across controlling. And that person might even back further away. So it's best to say, what are your goals? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are children in your future? What's most important in a relationship? What do you value in this relationship? Because if there's no value, if there's no investment, then why even ask the question? This person might not even be for you.
Wow, that's strong. Okay.
Well,
so 6 months is appropriate. 6 months is appropriate to go there.
6 months is appropriate to definitely find out what the person is thinking in terms of relationship or in terms of your relationship. Hey, you know what? We've been having a really great time. I enjoy your company. When we go out, we can talk about anything and everything, and that just brings so much joy to my life. I really appreciate having you in my life. With that said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see us maybe in the next 4 months?
This is good.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's a good point that you're saying, like, at this point, you obviously have a good friendship and you can talk to each other about things. Because I think that sometimes where people get in trouble is they are paying attention to the checklist more so, and not so much, can we actually hold a decent conversation? It's more so like, oh, he has a good job, he does this well, he does that, like all those superficial things. And so if you have that level of conversation, you can actually talk about real issues like this. So that's that's a good key first step to consider. You have
right.
that.
And another thing I'm finding too, going back to that controlling piece, is sometimes we come across, I don't want to say desperate because that's like a dig. So I'm not trying to say desperate, but we can position ourselves in such a way that we focus so much on what's right in front of us, right? So, oh, she looked good, he looks good, right? I like the car he drives. He has a job. She has a job, or she owns her own home. She's an entrepreneur. We focus so much on the physical that we forget to build on that emotional, social, emotional, even mental relationship of what other things does this person bring to the table. So while we're going through that checklist that Roxanne just described, I mean, are they hitting all my felt needs? Right. And so what if the person, here's another question. What if this person hits all of your felt needs, right? But doesn't want kids? Is that a deal breaker?
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay.
So you have to ask yourself, what's most important? What's the most important to me right now? What is most valuable to me in this relationship over the long term of the relationship? Because if children is a deal breaker for you, then you have to make some tough decisions.
And not try to be like, well, I'm gonna convince him
right
to have children, because you're gonna spend your whole time frustrated trying to convince him, you give me a baby or whatever,
right? Or convince her, because at the same time she might be very career driven. I worked hard. I went to school. I got my master's degree, or I fought every channel in this corporation to get to this stature. No, I ain't having no babies. I'm just saying.
Wow. I have a follow-up question, and my story. Most of you guys know I've been married 31 years, so I and Donecia, you're married too. Roxy is the single one among us, but when is it too early? What you say?
I said Roxy is a smart one. I'm kidding.
When would you say it's too soon to say I love you to someone?
Oh, that's a good question.
When would I say it's too soon?
Yeah, like we're talking, this is 6 months and I'm already saying, you want to get married? You want to have kids? I like that you were saying, I appreciate being with you. I enjoy your company. But when is it too soon to say, I love you? When is I know the first date is too soon.
Absolutely.
The first date is definitely too soon.
Yes. I'll use my own relationship as an example. My now husband told me that he loved me.
Your now husband?
My now husband. Yeah, my main husband, my only husband. But when we were dating and we were young, he told me probably at around 4 months that he loved me. Aww. And I just kind of went like this. He talks about me so bad. He said, you hurt my feelings. I was like, well, I said, that is so sweet. But I couldn't say it yet, because at that time, I didn't know if I loved him. I knew he made me laugh. I knew that he was bringing some things out of me and pulling me out of my shell, because I was very introverted. And I liked what I was becoming. That was good for me. But I wasn't sure if that was enough for me to say I loved him. And so I felt like, because he was at this place, right, of saying I love you, that he was pushing the relationship faster than I wanted it to go.
Wow.
And we ended up taking a break.
Wow. Okay.
And I had to let him know that what my priorities were. My priorities were God first, my family second, my education or my career third, and then he was about a good fourth.
Oh my!
And he stayed around and stuck in there until he made it in.
My brother pursued me, girl. He pursued me.
How did you know to go back to him, or how did you guys link back up? Look, we need to forget about the rest of the questions. How did y'all link back up?
Yeah. So we broke up for about 3 months, 3.5, maybe 4 months. And in that time, I talked to other people, but not really talked to them, because I was like focused on taking care of me. He talked to a few people. We got back together. So after about month 3, we got back together. And that lasted probably a month, because then the brother was mad and he had to have some get back, and broke up with me.
No.
That was get back. I didn't learn it was get back until after we had been married, y'all, for 20 years.
Oh,
Get out of here.
I kid y'all not. And we came up in conversation. It's hilarious now, but we good.
That's
yes.
funny.
Right? And he said, oh no, I did that to get back at you. Because I was hurt. He was hurt. So I broke up with him back then because I didn't know if I loved him. I think the moment I knew that I was deeply in love with my husband now, it was we were on a camping trip with, we worked for a church and we were on a camping trip with these kids. And I ended up coming down with some serious migraines on this trip that I could not shake, that had me all messed up. And I'm with these little 4th grade girls. It was horrible. And just his overall care and concern for me, like my safety, my well-being, while I was kayaking with these girls and I had this migraine, and all the things that he did behind the scenes to make sure I was getting the treatment I needed and it was safe, just blew me away.
Wow.
Blew me away. And how he, got into his little kayak, was looking for me with the campers, and brother can't swim. I was like, there's something about him. He continued to pursue me. And over that time, I just saw him like, he's the one. Because who else would do this for me?
Right.
Right. But even a good friend might be like, you on your own, I'm sorry you're sick. But he pursued me in such a way that had to be love.
Wow.
So he demonstrated love to me, for me, which made me love him more.
Wow.
Oh, so did you have to come back? Like, was it a big moment when you finally said "I love you" to him? That
he was like, oh, okay. Kind of. Like I said, we were young. We were in the early 20s. So super young. But I don't remember all the details. I just remember him saying, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh man, this is huge. So we're gonna have to take a short break, and so we got a couple. We only got through question 1, so we got a couple more questions to get through, Donecia. So hang on, and then we'll see you guys on the side.
A delicious word. Let's chew.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Roxanne, and today we're making a stuffed tomato. Now, if you're anything like me, you may have stocked up on some non-perishables when we first were asked to start social distancing. I got some rice and for some reason kidney beans, and so I guess today we're going to put those kidney beans to use. When I was last at the store, I was able to also pick up some tomatoes and fresh basil. And so we're going to pair all these together and make our stuffed tomato. So we're going to get started by cooking that white rice and setting it aside. And then we're going to cut off the top of our tomato and then gut the tomato. And we don't want to throw anything away that we pull out of that tomato because we're going to use that to make our sauce that will also go in our stuffing. So with the inside of the tomato, we're going to just cut that up. We're going to add it to a pan with minced garlic and let that come to a nice simmer. And once you have that mixed together and it's making its own sauce, then we're going to add in our can of kidney beans. And I'm just straining these kidney beans and then adding them right on and mixing them in. I'm going to add in some oregano as well, and then also some fresh ground black pepper. And once I've done that, I'm going to mix it in and also just let it simmer for a little longer once everything has come to a boil. And while that's simmering, I'm going to now turn back to my white rice that I cooked and set aside. And I'm going to cut up my fresh basil and add that to the rice. And with the fresh basil, I'm using just about like 2 stems of the basil. And I'm just going to mix that into the rice, and that flavor will stay nice and strong there. And by this time, my beans should be nice and warm and flavors mixing well. So I'm going to turn off those beans and add it into the rice and mix that up. So we have a nice bean and rice mixture, and you'll smell the basil and everything. You'll have the heartiness of the beans. And we're now just going to stuff our tomato. So that tomato that we gutted out, we're going to stuff the tomato and then put the top right back on it. And then stuff the stuffed tomato. Put the stuffed tomato in the oven on 350 and let it cook for about 20 minutes. And what you'll notice is that tomato's not going to get brown, but it is going to warm up, and the tangy flavor is just going to come piercing through and just be way more just, I don't know, noticeable, alive, and just it'll make it so good. And so once that's done, it's cooked for about 20 minutes. You can take it out and then dig right in. I added just a little bit more ground pepper onto it just because I like that fresh crunch of the ground pepper. But yeah, you can definitely, this is something you can definitely have flexibility with. If you want, you can add cheese into the rice and beans and stuff before you put it in your tomato. Feel free to have fun with it, all right? Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Until next time.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Wasn't that delicious?
It was. Oh, that cook is so good, man.
Good. That girl putting it down. You know, we had a conversation at work today. I work with, different people from different backgrounds. And one of the young ladies I work with is from Africa. And she was asking me, can I cook? I said, not really. She said, I'm so disappointed in you.
Ma'am.
I'm disappointed in you as a Black woman. And then she started listing stuff. You mean you don't know how to make fried chicken? I said, not really. You don't know how to make macaroni. And she just going down the list.
Oh my gosh. As if you didn't say no at first. Like nothing?
I said, I can make some lasagna.
Did you get credit for lasagna?
Say it again.
Did you get any credit for the lasagna? Or
I
no?
got credit for the lasagna, but in her mind, that's not like soul food.
No soul. Oh.
Yeah, she was disappointed in me. So anyway, we laughed about it because I don't care. Cool. So we are on a Zoom call with Donecia, and Donecia asked the coach. Well, she's breaking us off some wisdom.
I know. It's good stuff.
So good. So we have, I think, a couple more questions for her. So take it away, Roxy.
Okay, so next question is, I know marriage is hard work, but I feel like I'm doing it on my own. My husband feels distant. I ask if he's okay. He says yes. If I probe more, he says he's fine, but I know he's not. How do you work on a marriage when the other person isn't being honest with you?
Yes. Well, the first thing I would say is if you've asked your husband over and over multiple times that, is something wrong? Are we good? And his response is the same, then at what point do you turn and work on yourself?
Oh, not what I expected you to say. Oh.
Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You've heard me say this before. So in a matter of, it could be the question he might not be ready to answer that question yet, but by working on yourself, working on what's valuable to you in the relationship, what's valuable, if communication is valuable to you, how do you increase your capacity to communicate better, to ask better questions? What is it in yourself that you think would help the conversation along? Do you need, I don't know, maybe you need to do something to get his undivided attention? Are you asking him when he's got his phone in his hand? Are you asking him questions while you're at dinner? Are you asking him questions about how he feels, just before you go to bed? Sometimes the moment in which you ask the question may prohibit deeper conversation. Here's an example. Oftentimes, my husband and I will start to have what I call a too long conversation while we're brushing our teeth.
Wow.
While you're brushing your teeth?
Girl, while we're brushing our teeth. It never ceases to fail. When you're getting up in the morning, we have a bathroom, we have double sinks, we can brush our teeth at the same time, floss, 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 brush, brush, brush. I may ask a question that may turn into what needs to be an hour, hour and a half, or a full day conversation that we only have about 15 minutes to talk about. Right? So, my fault. I want to talk about it, but obviously we don't have time. Right. And you haven't met my husband, Roxanne, but if you had, you would know he can be very long-winded because he's a preacher. He go on and on and on. And I'm like, get to the point. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes you have to find a window of time where you can actually have a conversation. And so that might be another barrier. That there might be a whole lot that he has to say, but the timing could just be off. So one, I would say maybe find time to work on yourself. What is it that you can better yourself in communication, in listening? If it's a podcast like Chat and Chew, things that have asked questions where you can dig deeper and reflect on them for yourself to improve yourself, do that. But also maybe ask him, is there a time where we can have a in-depth conversation on, and you set the topic, I know you've been busy at work and you seem to have a lot of projects going on. How is that going for you? But I don't know if now is a good time to talk about it or maybe later. So how about we schedule time to just talk about whatever it is we want to talk about on Thursdays at 6. Be intentional about setting the tone and the time for when you want to have the conversation and make sure it's not coming up at an inopportune time.
Oh, we just got some kind of notice.
Yeah, it's that 40 minutes. I think we have like 7 minutes left.
Okay. All right. Cool. I was going to ask you something about that. What I heard that guys, when you say to them, "Can we talk?" they just shut down.
Yeah, that means doom to them.
That means doom. Yes, they automatically take it to the negative place, right? But if you set the tone and you say, "Hey, I want to talk about this," then they go, "Oh, well, that's not what I expected." So yeah, we have to talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Can we talk as a cliffhanger? So they have to answer all day what she want to talk about.
I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble. And if you're right. And especially if they get it in a text, because some couples are notorious for having text battles back and forth, right? So if you see that in the text, you're automatically going to go to the negative place. Especially if you receive it in the middle of the day while you're at work.
Yeah.
Can we talk? Okay, well, what does she mean? What's going on? Something's up.
Wow.
So, focus and intentional on what you want to talk about.
I like that. Focus and intentional.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow, this was loaded. We're gonna have to do another episode here soon with Ask Coach Donecia. Why don't you tell us, because we're gonna have to end right now, but tell us where they can find you and all your socials.
Thank you. You can find me at Donecia Norwood-Smith on Facebook, or you can look me up on the gram at Coach Donecia.
Hey.
Cool. Yes. And again, as always, we are super thrilled to have you guys with us. I don't know if you know this, but we are also on YouTube. You might be watching like, hey, I already know that. But so we want to invite you to, what did we say, Roxy?
To subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram at Chat and Chew Show.
Yep. So this was a great episode. Today, I actually brought my pen. Let me take some notes. So this is really good. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Say goodbye, lady.
Bye-bye.
This show was brought to you by the Chat and Chew Company. Music by Elwood Jones. Lyrics by Roxanne. Bring a Chat and Chew live event to your organization. Contact us at chatandchewshow@gmail.com.
It's too loud.
This podcast episode should be quarantined with kids.
Oh, hell.
Quarantine and I'm going crazy.
Is that how you were going to finish it, Donecia? I don't think that's what you were going to say.
My husband said, what time you doing it? I said 7. I'll be back. Is he back? No. Let's do question number 5.